Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is January 20th, 2026. And look, if you have been keeping your head down, just focusing on your own work, maybe ignoring the tech news cycle for the last 6 months, you might be operating on some completely outdated assumptions.
Oh, absolutely. The landscape has shifted under our feet again.
It really has.
I mean, if 2023 was the year of, wow, I can write a poem, and 2024 was, wow, I can pass the bar exam,
right,
then 2026 is definitely the year the AI actually gets a job.
Right. We are moving from what I call the chatbot era, which, let's be honest, was fun, but sometimes a little gimmicky, to the agentic era. And today we are doing a comprehensive teardown of the Google ecosystem as it stands right now. We have a massive stack of sources here covering Gemini 3.0, the anti-gravity architecture, and this explosion of tools inside Google AI Studio.
It is a dense stack. But the through line, the main theme is very clear. Google has effectively declared the end of the prompt and pray method.
Prompt and pray. I like that.
They're moving toward orchestration. We are going to talk about vibe coding, which is a term I honestly thought was a joke until I actually used it. And we are going to talk about how the fundamental economics of software are changing.
And we've got a model called Nano Banana. Don't blame me. I didn't name it.
I know.
We have something called deep think reasoning.
Yeah.
And we have the potential end of the static website as we know it. So what is the mission statement for this deep dive?
I think the mission is to understand the shift from tool to partner. We need to unpack how Gemini 3.0 and these new agentic flows change the very definition of work. It is no longer about you typing a prompt and getting a paragraph of text back. It is about you managing a fleet of digital entities that can code, see, hear, and reason over, long periods of time.
Fleet of interns.
A fleet of interns who never sleep, have read the entire internet, and have finally started to learn how to think before they speak.
I love that. Okay, let's start in the engine room then. The new frontier model family is Gemini 3.0. We were all using 2.0 and 2.5 last year. Is this just a version bump, or is there something mechanically different happening here?
It is mechanically different. The headline feature is something they call deep think. But to really understand why that matters, we have to look at how large language models usually work.
Okay.
Historically, models are like an improv comic. You shout a suggestion, and they immediately start talking. They predict the next word as fast as they possibly can.
Which is exactly why they hallucinate. They get committed to the bit. They can't stop halfway through a sentence and say, actually, hold on, that's wrong.
Exactly. They can't back up. Gemini 3.0 utilizes what they're calling thinking tokens. When you ask it a really complex question, say a PhD-level physics problem or a contradictory coding request, it doesn't answer you immediately. It enters a deep think mode.
Okay, but is that just a loading bar to make us feel better?
Yeah.
Like it's really thinking hard?
No, and this is the crucial distinction. It is generating text, but it's hidden text. It is having an internal monologue with itself. It's debating. It might say, okay, the user asked for X, but that contradicts Y. Let me check the math. No, that formula is wrong. Let me try this other approach. It iterates internally.
So it's the digital equivalent of a student working out the math on a piece of scratch paper before writing the final answer on the test.
Precisely. And that scratch paper is invisible to us, but it is computationally expensive. The result, though, is that it stops guessing. It verifies. The benchmarks on reasoning and math have just jumped significantly because it is no longer rushing to be first. It's rushing to be right.
You mentioned it is computationally expensive, but then Google is marketing this whole update as anti-gravity. That implies lightness, speed. Those two things seem contradictory.
Yeah.
How could it be heavier on the thinking but lighter on the system?
That is the paradox of 2026, isn't it? Anti-gravity is the name of the new architecture. See, over the last few years, as models got smarter, they also got heavy. You remember the lag, right?
Yeah.
You'd paste in a 50-page PDF, and the cursor would just blink at you for 10 seconds. It felt sluggish.
I remember it felt like the model was wading through mud. You could almost hear the servers groaning in the background.
Right. Anti-gravity is an overhaul of the inference engine. That's the part of the AI that actually processes your request. It's all about lifting that computational weight. They've managed to optimize the sparse attention mechanisms so the model just doesn't get bogged down anymore.
Okay, keep it simple for us. What does that actually feel like to me, the user?
It feels like speed. just pure speed. We are seeing 3 times faster generation on images and text, but more importantly, it allows for these massive prompts. You can now dump 500 words of conflicting instructions, huge context windows, multiple files, and the model doesn't get confused or slow to a crawl. It just handles the complexity with a lightness that wasn't there before.
So it can think deeper with DeepThink, but the machinery that's moving it is lighter with anti-gravity.
Exactly. It allows the model to multitask mentally without dropping the ball.
Okay, so that is the engine. But nobody just drives an engine. We drive cars. What is the lineup looking like? Is it still just Pro and Flash?
The hierarchy has matured quite a bit. At the very top, you have Gemini 3 Pro. This is the heavy lifter. If you are doing strategic research, complex coding, anything requiring that deep think capability, this is your tool. It has a context window of over 2 million tokens.
Which is roughly, in plain English.
That is about 2 hours of video or thousands of lines of code or a whole shelf of books. It can hold all of that in its working memory at once and reason across the entire thing.
Wow. And below Pro?
You have Gemini 3 Flash. But here's the kicker. In 2026, Flash doesn't mean dumb. The Gemini 3 Flash model is actually outperforming the Gemini Ultra model from 2024.
That is fast progress. So the light model today is smarter than the God model of 2 years ago.
Correct. Flash is designed for extremely low latency. If you're building a voice bot that needs to reply instantly so it feels human, or if you're doing real-time translation, you use Flash. It's incredibly snappy.
And are the older models dead? Is 2.5 just gone?
No. They have just been demoted to the mailroom.
Yeah.
Gemini 2.5 and Flashlight are now the workhorses. They're incredibly cheap to run. So if you have a background process that needs to summarize 50,000 emails a day, you don't waste Gemini 3 Pro's brain power on that.
Right.
You use Flashlight. It is literally pennies on the dollar.
It is the difference between hiring a high-priced consultant and just running a simple script.
Exactly. You don't take a Ferrari to the grocery store. You take the station wagon.
Let's pivot to the creative side. Because while the tech stuff is impressive, the visual stuff feels like where that anti-gravity speed really shows up.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the creative suite.
We do.
And we have to address the elephant in the room. Nano Banana.
Yes. The naming team at Google clearly had a fun Friday afternoon.
It sounds like a smoothie ingredient or a Mario Kart item, but this is actually a serious tool.
It is. A very serious tool. Nano Banana Pro is a specialized model just for images. But unlike Midjourney or the older DLE models, which were purely diffusion models, basically statistical guessers of what pixels should go, where Nano Banana is grounded in Gemini's world knowledge.
What does that practical difference look like? Because grounded in world knowledge sounds like pure marketing speak to me.
It means it understands content, not just aesthetics. So if you asked an old image generator for a diagram of a 4-stroke engine, it would give you something that looked cool, but the pistons would be in the wrong place and the spark plugs would be floating in space. It was an artistic interpretation of an engine.
Right, totally useless for actual work. It looks sciencey, but it isn't science.
Nano Banana understands the mechanics of an engine because it has Gemini's reasoning.
Yeah.
So it draws a diagram that is technically accurate. It is the difference between creating art and creating assets. It can do UI mockups where the buttons actually have the right text, or educational infographics that are spelled correctly and are logically sound.
And I saw this integrates with something called Doppel.
Yes, Doppel is the virtual try-on feature. This has finally gone mainstream. You upload a body scan or even just a few photos, and it generates a 3D-aware model of you. You can then try on clothes from a shopping feed.
Oh, wow.
Nano Banana generates the fabric physics, the drape, the lighting. It's incredible.
That is going to kill the return rate for e-commerce.
That is the entire goal. And it makes shopping much more personalized. Your feed isn't just a grid of clothes, it's you wearing the clothes.
Now let's talk about video. VO 3.1. We have seen AI video for a while, and it's usually, well, it's nightmarish. Morphing faces, extra fingers, weird dream logic.
Yeah, the uncanny valley has been deep.
Where's VO 3.1 at?
We have finally hit the coherence threshold. VO 3.1 does 1080p video, which is broadcast standard, but the real breakthrough for 2026 is native audio.
So it's not silent anymore.
No. And it is not post-processed Foley work where someone adds sound effects later. If you generate a video of a car peeling out on wet pavement, VO generates the screech and the splash simultaneously with the pixels. It understands that the visual of tires spinning necessitates the sound of screeching.
And the workflow connects these tools, right? It's not just a bunch of standalone apps.
That is the whole ecosystem play. You use Gemini 3 to write a script, you use Nano Banana to generate the character references and the storyboards, then you feed those images into VO and you say, animate this storyboard with a slow cinematic zoom and make the character smile. It is an image-to-video pipeline. You aren't tab switching. You are running a content studio from one window.
There was one more feature in the Creative Suite that sounded like pure science fiction to me. Interactive images.
This is one of my favorites. It applies generative interfaces to static images. The best example they showed is the sketch-to-app workflow.
Walk me through that.
Okay, so imagine you are at a coffee shop. You have an idea for a board game. You draw the board on a napkin. You scribble the rules on the side. Roll dice. Move here. If you land on X, go back to start.
A typical napkin scribble. Messy. Barely legible.
Exactly. You snap a photo of that napkin and upload it to Gemini 3.0. In the past, an AI would just describe the image. This is a drawing of a game.
Right.
Gemini 3.0 reads the rules, it understands the logic of the board layout, and it codes a playable version of the game. You can play your napkin sketch instantly on your phone.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It is bridging the gap between physical intent and digital execution instantly.
Coding with intent, that is the phrase you'll hear. You don't need to know C# or Unity anymore. You just need to know how to draw what you want.
This transitions us perfectly to the next section, which I think is the biggest shift for creators, the builder's playground. We need to talk about Google AI Studio and this term that has completely taken over the developer Twitterverse, vibe coding.
Vibe coding. I know it sounds ridiculous, like something a teenager would say on TikTok, check the vibe, but it represents a really profound shift in computer science.
Define it for the listeners who aren't on GitHub all day. What exactly are we vibe coding?
Traditional coding is all about syntax, semicolons, brackets, variable definitions. If you miss a single semicolon, the whole machine breaks. It is incredibly rigid. Vibe coding is about prompt-driven development. You describe the feeling, the goal, or the vibe of the app in plain English. I want a retro-style arcade game that feels like 1985, but with modern physics.
And the AI handles the semicolons.
AI handles all the syntax. You operate at the level of the architect, not the bricklayer. You are directing the construction, not mixing the cement.
In Google AI Studios where this all happens.
Yes, it is the browser-based environment. They have added a feature called Build Mode that is designed specifically for this. It even has an I'm feeling lucky button.
That's nostalgic. What does it do in 2026?
You click it, and it just generates a random app idea and builds it right in front of you. One of the examples in our research notes was a space dinosaur coloring book. It wrote the code, laid out the buttons, and hooked up the Nano Banana model to generate the dinosaur outlines on demand.
So it essentially prototyped an entire product in one click.
Yes. And for the user, it is addictive. But for the serious developer, they've added something called AI chips.
Not potato chips.
No. Think of them as functional modules. Let's say you are building an app and you decide, I need a map right here. In the old days, you would have to go read the Google Maps API documentation, get an API key, write the fetch request.
Yeah.
It could take hours.
A real pain.
Now you just drag a Google Maps chip into your project window. The AI understands you want a map, handles all the integration, and boom, there's a map.
It is Lego blocks.
It is Lego blocks that know how to connect themselves. You are assembling capabilities, not writing boilerplate code.
But what about the hardcore engineers? The people building enterprise software? Are they using vibe coding too? Or is this just for hobbyists making coloring books?
They are, but they're using it in a different environment. Google released the Anti-Gravity IDE. This is a desktop application, a direct competitor to tools like Cursor or Windsurf.
How is it different from just having ChatGPT open in a sidebar next to your code?
That is the key. It is not a chatbot in a sidebar. It is agentic first. The AI has access to your entire file system. It understands the structure of your whole project. If you say, refactor the authentication system to use OAuth instead of passwords, it doesn't just give you a snippet of code. No. It goes into 5 different files. It updates the database schema. It updates the front-end login page, updates the back-end API, and then it presents you with the full plan.
It is acting like a senior developer who is pair programming with you.
A senior developer who types at 500 100 words per minute and never forgets where a variable was defined.
There is one more tool in this suite called Stitch. That name implies putting things together.
Stitch solves the blank page problem. You know how hard it is to start a design from scratch. With Stitch, you just upload a screenshot. Maybe it is your competitor's website. Maybe it is a design you like on Dribbble. You say, redesign this to match our brand colors and make it look like a 2026 cyberpunk aesthetic.
And it converts the pixels back into code.
It generates the HTML, CSS, and React components. It is fully editable code. It collapses the distance between I see it and I have it. You can literally steal the vibe of a site. Legally speaking, you are stealing the layout, not the content, and make it your own in seconds.
This leads us to the broader theme, then. We are moving from tools that help us write to tools that help us do. This is the agentic shift. We need to talk about flows.
This is where the ROI is for businesses. Smart Reply in Gmail was cute. It saved you 3 seconds. Workspace flows are digital assembly lines.
Give me a concrete, gritty example of a flow, not the glossy marketing version.
Okay. Imagine you are a sales account executive. You have an agent, a flow monitoring your inbox. It is not just looking for spam. It is parsing for sentiment. A frantic email comes in from a VIP client. We have a major problem with the Q1 delivery.
Panic mode.
Normally, yes. But the agent captures this. It reads the email. It checks your internal inventory database to see what the status of the delivery actually is. It sees there was a weather delay. So it drafts a reply explaining the situation. I see the delay. It appears to be due to weather in Memphis.
Okay.
Then it checks your calendar for a free 15-minute slot, sends a calendar invite to the client for a resolution call, and then it pings you on Google Chat with a summary. VIP client is angry about delay. I've drafted a reply and booked a call for 2 p.m. review here.
So it did all the triage.
It did the triage, the research, the scheduling, and the drafting. All you have to do is review it and show up to the call.
That is incredibly powerful. But also, I have to ask, do we trust it? What if it hallucinates the weather in Memphis?
That is where grounding comes in, and it's so important. The enterprise tier of these agents is grounded in your data. It is not guessing. It is looking at your actual logistics database. If the data isn't there, it is programmed to escalate to a human rather than lie. It knows what it doesn't know.
Okay, that is reassuring. And what about Jules?
Jules is the developer-focused agent. It is proactive. It lives in your GitHub repository. It might notice a security vulnerability in a dependency you're using. Jules will then fork the code, write the patch to fix the security hole, run all the tests to make sure it didn't break anything, and then open a pull request for you.
So it fixes bugs you didn't even know you had.
While you sleep, you wake up, check your dashboard, and see fixed critical vulnerability, ready to merge.
And for the people who live in the command line, the black screen, green text crowd.
The Gemini CLI update. It turns the terminal into an interactive shell. So you can run tools like Vim or HTOP inside the chat context, and you can create your own custom /commands.
Like in Slack.
Exactly like that. You write a little configuration file, a TOM.ml file, that defines a shortcut. You could make a command called audit. When you type that, the agent runs a script to check your code quality, runs a security scan, and summarizes the results. You are automating your own muscle memory. You turn a 10-step process into a one-word command.
I want to touch on deep research.
Yeah.
Because just searching the web has become difficult. SEO spam is everywhere. How does this fix that?
Deep research is an evolution of search that moves from retrieval to synthesis. If you ask Google today for marketing strategy comparisons, you get 10 BLE links. You have to click them, read them, ignore all the ads, and then synthesize the data yourself.
It takes hours.
Deep research does that legwork for you. It visits the sites, it reads the PDFs, and it gathers the data. But, and this is the really cool part, the output isn't just a wall of text. It builds a visual report. It will generate a pie chart showing market share. It will create a bar graph comparing ad spend.
So it is doing the job of a junior analyst.
Effectively, yes. And it even includes interactive simulations. You can adjust variables on the graph. What if I double my marketing budget? And watch the projection change in real time. It is not a static search result. It is a dynamic answer.
Let's talk about specialized tools for a minute. Notebook LM. We've covered this before on the show. People love the audio overview feature where the AI hosts a little chat about your documents. What is new there?
Notebook LM has been a massive hit. So now they have added video. It can generate a video overview, a visual podcast, essentially. It pulls relevant images from your sources, generates charts on the fly, and creates a whole video presentation to go along with the audio.
So if I upload a history textbook, it makes a little documentary.
Mini documentary, yes. And it is grounded. It can hold up to 25 million words of context now.
Huh.
It is a small library. And it uses argot retrieval augmented generation to cite its sources. If it tells you a fact, it links to the exact page in the PDF where it found it.
That citation piece is crucial for trust.
Absolutely. It dramatically reduces hallucinations because it is constrained to only the source material you provided.
Speaking of dynamic, let's talk about dynamic views, because this, to me, sounds like the end of the web as we know it.
It is a massive disruption. It is. Dynamic views is the concept of generating a custom interface for a specific query.
How does that work in practice?
Let's say you ask, how does a quantum computer work? In the old web, you would land on a Wikipedia page or some rigid educational site. You get the same page everyone else gets. With dynamic views, Gemini builds a Quantum Explorer app just for you, right in that moment.
An app.
A mini app. It generates sliders to change Quippet states. It generates a visualization of superposition. It builds a website that only exists for you for 10 minutes to answer your specific question in the best possible way.
And it just disappears.
Then it is gone. Or you
Yeah.
can save it. But the point is, the internet stops being a collection of static pages that people wrote years ago and becomes a database of information that is assembled on the fly into whatever format helps you learn best.
That is really exciting, but it's also existential for content creators like us. If I write a blog post and the AI just strips the data and builds a custom view for the user, nobody ever visits my site. Nobody sees my ads.
That is the billion-dollar question. If the AI is the interface, the static web just becomes the back-end database. We don't have the answer to the economic fallout of that yet, but from a pure user perspective, it is the ultimate personalization.
Which segues us perfectly to the business side. Someone has to pay for all these thinking tokens and anti-gravity servers. How is Google charging for this stuff?
Well, the model is shifting from seat-based to outcome-based.
Explain that.
For 20 years, we have paid for SaaS software as a service by the seat, $20 per user per month. But if an AI agent is doing the work of 10 people, charging $20 makes no sense for Google. They are losing value.
Sure.
So we are moving to outcome pricing. You might pay $50 for every qualified meeting the agent books for your sales team, or $1 for every bug that Jules fixes in your code.
You pay for the result, not for the tool.
Yeah, exactly. But businesses need to be careful. There is a concept called token inflation. Remember, deepthink.
The hidden scratch paper.
Right. If you ask a really hard question, the model might use 5,000 hidden tokens to reason through it before giving you a 50-word answer. You are paying for those 5,000 tokens. A short answer can be very, very expensive if it required a lot of thought.
That is a hidden bill waiting to happen.
It is. CFOs are going to have to get used to the idea that harder questions cost more money.
And privacy. If I am feeding my company's secret roadmap into Gemini to generate these reports, is Google reading it?
You have to understand the privacy divide. It is binary. If you are on the free tier, the consumer version, you should assume your data is being used to train the model. You are the product.
Standard internet rules.
Standard rules. But if you are on the paid enterprise tier or using Vertex AI, it is a walled garden. Google legally guarantees that your data is not trained on and acts as a complete silo. If you are a business, you simply cannot cheap out on the free tier. You need that wall.
So looking at this whole picture, Gemini 3, agentic flows, vibe coding, we are just in a new world.
We are. The barrier to building has completely collapsed. You don't need to learn syntax to build an app anymore. You just need to be able to clearly articulate what you want.
We are moving from being users of software to being directors of software.
That is the perfect analogy. The skill of the future isn't typing code. It is curation. It is direction. It is having the taste and the vision to know if what the AI built is actually good.
So here's my challenge to you, the listener. Don't just let this wash over you as tech news. Go to AI Studio. Try the I'm feeling mucky button. Try to build a simple tool for your daily life using just plain English. See what it feels like to be a director.
The best way to predict the future is to build it yourself.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.
Take care.